3, 2, 1.
Hello, America. Welcome back to the Ben Shapiro Lite Show. I'm your host, 2040 Presidential Candidate Ely Loew, and although I'm not Ben Shapiro, I'm pretty close. Just not as young, successful, maybe not as smart, and not quite as conservative or as Jewish. Otherwise, me and Ben are like identical political twins. Now, today's show, we've reached a new milestone. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on our second episode. Yay! And that means new segments and more interesting discussions. Today we'll introduce our new segment, Awesome Shapiro and Not As Awesome Shapiro, as well as classics like Things I Love and Things I Despise. More importantly, we'll discuss Trump economic policy around tariffs and what is a border and why do we need them. But first, as always, a word from our sponsors. Are you struggling with confirmation bias? Are you just starting to realize that all your political views may be, how to put this delicately, stupid? Don't worry, you're not alone. Well, maybe you are. Very few people realize that their political views are stupid or biased. But here at the Ely Loew 2040 campaign, we have a very simple solution. It's called our 3-step program to restore political sanity for people who can't understand politics good. Step 1, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Very easy. Step 2, go to our Patreon page on patreon.com/Ely Loew 2040. The exact same as our YouTube channel name. And sign up for the $1 a video tier. And remember, you do get a free promotional pen. And step 3, watch every video we produce. And remember to tick the little bell, because then you find out as soon as we upload a video. And because we don't upload that often, you won't get spammed. So if you follow these 3 simple steps, you will find your mind clear up and your understanding of the political landscape become crystal clear and hyper-focused. You'll see all the politically stupid people who sadly don't even know they're politically stupid. And you might even find a strong desire springing forth from the depth of your soul to run for political office. Embrace that desire. It will serve you well. Now, back to the show. Let's start with tariffs, because everyone loves to talk about taxes and tariffs and international trade policy. So exciting. So I don't have actually much to add on tariffs, specifically since it's been talked to death in the media. But I find it fascinating that it's been talked so much by Republicans. And Republicans are very split on these tariffs because generally tariffs are a type of tax, and Republicans hate taxes due to the unintended consequence of raising prices for everyone. And that's kind of what happens when you start imposing tariffs. But some Republicans, and a big chunk of Republicans, love the idea of tariffs because they imagine somehow like we'll get back at China, and also because Trump proposed it. Right? So usually Democrats are in favor of tariffs because it's a tax, but they can't be in favor of these tariffs because Trump proposed them. And anyone who knows anything about tariffs, and we're talking about a very small group of people, maybe 100 or 200 people in the country that really understand what the impact of tariffs and what it means, they genuinely know that tariffs aren't really something that are beneficial, and we have to be very, very careful about imposing tariffs. So tariffs are generally bad, and no one really has an example of when they're good, although a lot of countries keep them for their own reasons, right? What I also find funny, and also incredibly hypocritical, is that nobody talks about subsidies when we talk about tariffs. And subsidies are essentially the opposite of a tariff, in that in a tariff, we tax people who are importing goods. In subsidies, we give money to companies to produce things more cheaply locally, even if it's normally at a loss, and to export very cheaply. And subsidies are kind of crazy in the sense that the companies that are getting subsidized often don't make money unless they get subsidized. Take Uber, for example. Uber is a subsidized company. They still don't make a profit, right? Me personally, I can't understand how a company operates in a free market system at a loss for a long time. But why don't people talk about subsidies? Because it's political suicide. you cannot win an election on a platform that subsidies are bad. So just for the record, I don't think subsidies are bad. I'm just saying, maybe if we're going to talk about tariffs, we should include discussions around subsidies. Like, those things are so closely tied together that we're being very dishonest if we talk about tariffs and we don't talk about subsidies. So it's kind of interesting that tariffs are in the news. Let's get subsidies in the news. That's all I'm saying. Maybe subsidies can be good. I don't want to commit political suicide, so I'm not going to commit to this political stance. In a minute, I'll tell you about borders. What are they? Why do we need them? But first, a word from our sponsors. Today, I am proud to announce that this video is sponsored by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. As requested by their official propaganda department, I can only read their official letter as they wrote it, or someone I love would be hurt. So please forgive any grammatical errors. Dear America, your media and political leaders have been engaged in a great deceit, a lie that says our country is not a democracy. How silly! Our country has democracy in our name. If you didn't know, we are the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We too hold elections, a very little known secret. Usually, everyone votes, and everyone votes for our dear leader, Kim Jong-un. Now, in the past, we did have a problem where only 95% would vote for our president and leader, and we would find the 5% and jail them. And still, the next time we had an election, there was still only 95%. This was so confusing. So we did some research and arrested some more people. And the next time we held elections, it was 97%. We got better and better, and now we're proud to announce that 100% of our voters vote for our dear leader, Kim Jong-un. And so that means we didn't need elections anymore. But still, we are a democracy. We love democracy. We love when people vote for us. So, please stop calling us a dictatorship. This PSA brought to you by the Democratic Republic's people of Korea. Thank you. And I'm happy to say that instead of getting a payment like most sponsors will give, I was offered not to be brutally tortured or arrested. So thank you, North Korea, for that kind offer. Now, back to our show. So, borders. Who needs them? Why do we have borders? Can't we all live in peace and harmony, traveling around the world, visiting every country we want to? What about the words on the Statue of Liberty that cry, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to be free"? How come we can't just let everyone in? We have plenty of space, very low unemployment. We're a wealthy country, right? And the answer to that is because people are stupid, and even worse, a lot of people are incredibly evil, right? And that doesn't mean that all the people coming in from other countries are evil and terrorists, but it means that the world is still full of evil. And that includes in our own US of A. We have evil people, they do evil things, but the problem is there's a completely disproportionate and unequal amount of evil in the world. And some countries have a lot more, and some countries have a lot less. And usually the deciding factor is time, development, and kind of education and cultural changes that happened in some countries and didn't happen in others. And look, the sources of that are incredibly complicated. And it's not a judgment call to say that some countries have more problems than others. But the reality is actually we cannot take the whole world into America. We cannot sustain ourselves if we just allow the floodgates to open and everyone to come in. And I think most people recognize that. I think most people realize, hey, we can't just let everyone come in. We need some kind of immigration laws. And so the real discussion is around how strict or how lenient we should be. But we need to make rules. We need to make laws. And so the only thing I don't understand is that when we make laws and we make rules, then there's sometimes this view that we don't need to follow the laws or follow the rules. And I just don't understand that. Right? I think that's the most confusing thing. If you talk to a Republican about immigration, I think their main point is, well, shouldn't we follow the rules? Now look, I know a lot of rules can be broken. I think most people have broken a rule or two. But I think in principle, on the surface, we should be following the laws that we enact. And if people feel those laws aren't good, then the strategy is to change the laws, not break the laws. And so, look, maybe in the future, maybe in some idealistic future when all the poorest nations in the world have developed economically, socially, culturally, we won't need borders or not hard borders. But the reality is in our current world we do. And it's a painful reality. There's a lot of stuff you have to kind of come to terms with. Starving children in Africa, war everywhere on a daily basis. But you can't scapegoat kind of the American legal system and the American structure to try to solve those problems. They're very, very complex, and they'll take a long time. So maybe borders shouldn't be necessary, but they are. And they will be into the foreseeable future. Okay, now on to a brand new segment that I'm super excited about. Awesome Shapiro and Not As Awesome Shapiro. In honor of Ben's segment on Good Trump, Bad Trump, I'm going to review the things that Shapiro does and says that go way above and beyond, and then the things that might have fallen just a little bit short. Now, just for the record, just to be very clear here, I would not dare criticize Ben Shapiro, as everything he does is awesome, just awesome, right? But he's not yet perfect, and unfortunately, this is by his own admission. And a word of advice, Ben, I would never admit my faults. Like, just bad strategy. But you be you, right? So Awesome Ben, let's start with the Awesome Ben, is whenever the Grammys come around, right? It is just amazing to watch someone eviscerate completely the most self-righteous, self-serving elitists that this country has. It's just really where Ben shines. It brings me back to the good old days when Jon Stewart did the same thing. And to be fair to Ben, I think he does it even better. If you know how much I love Jon Stewart, you know that's quite the compliment. Now, let's go to Not So Awesome Ben. And again, major disclaimer here. I'm not criticizing Ben, but just highlighting maybe a couple things he might have been able to improve on slightly on his already impressive analysis of the world and of the facts of politics. So I bring you back to a few months ago on January 29th, specifically episode 463 of the Ben Shapiro Show. And Ben did a piece on Jay-Z's interview on the Van Jones Show. Now, as part of that interview, Jay-Z did take a shot at Trump being racist, and Ben basically called BS and hypocrisy on Jay-Z's opinion, kind of citing that Jay-Z doesn't really have a strong leg to stand on in terms of political discourse, and especially racism, citing his kind of support of the Nation of Islam, who've consistently been anti-Semitic, and just also his kind of past criminal history. So I'm sure Ben would have been proud, as I decided to go straight to the source and watch the full interview and form my own opinions. And I really think Ben missed a massive opportunity here. Of course, Jay-Z will think Trump is racist. Like, the media has played that angle so hard, and Trump's bad judgment on how he's responded to some situations with white supremacists, as well as just confirmation bias. People are expecting him to be racist, so they'll take anything he says to be even more racist. I'm not surprised if, like, nearly every single black man or woman believes that Trump is racist. But I think we can and should look beyond this in the case of Jay-Z, as well as look beyond his criminal past. Because Jay-Z said two things in that interview that were incredibly powerful. First, he talked about breaking the cycle of divorce for black men and women, that he wanted people to see a different outcome, specifically his children, and that marriage was something worth fighting for. Then Van Jones asked him a very direct question. What advice would he give to young black men who had hurt someone? And Jay-Z gave the best possible response you could give. He said the best apology is changed behavior and acknowledging the pain you caused. So the reason I feel that Ben really missed an opportunity here is because Ben is constantly and consistently pointing out that a source of inequality in America between the black community and the rest of America is the reality of single motherhood and the consequences of that. And here's a well-respected black man promoting marriage and asking men to change their behavior. So if Ben's point is that culture needs to be changed, what better way to change the culture? So despite his flaws, full respect to Jay-Z for committing to marriage as something that is worth fighting for and investing in. I have one more not as awesome Shapiro, and that's his taste in music. And look, I'm not someone who can judge. My favorite singers are Mariah Carey and Shania Twain, and one of my favorite songs of all time is Jolene, right? So look, I have no leg to stand on, but we all know that Ben Shapiro's music taste is a 60-year-old man in a 34-year-old body. And every time he starts talking about his love of classical music and the musicals that he's a fan of, it's almost like I'm in a parallel universe sci-fi reality where the speakers and all his listeners' laptops and phones suddenly become microphones and I can hear them groaning. Like, it's actually kind of funny. But look, one of the things I love about Shapiro is he doesn't care. That's what he loves. That's what he's going to talk about. So you be you, Ben. You do you. You live and speak your truth and your life. All right. So the last segment of today, things I love and things I despise with all my soul. So first of all, it's tough being, a new YouTube creator, a young politician trying to find his feet in the world. And especially, you get a lot of hate, especially on a site like YouTube, a lot of harsh comments. And I have one video that, I'm promoting with a little bit of money every day because I'm insecure and I have to pay for views. And it has, 36 dislikes and 26 likes. And look, guys, that's mean. That hurts. But there was someone on the comments who really moved my heart and made me smile. So a big shout out to Clydian Secta. Anyway, you can see it there on the video. And he says, quote, "Love it. It's rare to find a troll video with low production done well. Keep it up." So I really hope that was Donald Trump under a pseudonym. But even if not, it really gave me some inspiration to keep going. So thank you for the kind comments. And for those of you that didn't realize it was a troll video, lighten up a bit, right? It's just YouTube. All right, another thing I love is vegetable salads. And a little background, about 6 years ago, I started getting kind of regular checkups on my health. Very smart move, got a blood test, realized my cholesterol was really high, and it kind of scared me. Got me into shape, went to see a nutritionist, and she said, eat more vegetables. So every day for lunch now, I have a salad bowl full of vegetables. I kind of mix warm and cold vegetables, a little plain chicken, and put some, light sauce on it. And last time I got my checkup, my cholesterol was down. I also started eating a lot of oatmeal. So love vegetables because they will save my life. So just kind of really happy about that. Things I despise. Vegetable salads with plain chicken. They taste awful. Like the only way I can survive is kind of drowning it with a little bit too much sugar. And that's another thing I despise is sugar. Look at this thing. This belly here, this is literally probably like an inch here is just sugar. And I think, I just love sugar too much. And I think it's a problem. And I think the only solution, the only free market solution that will save, at least me, but I'm sure many other people, is higher sugar tax. We need government intervention because, I just don't have the self-control. I just don't. It's too good. And I don't want to die young. So I'm going to propose a sugar tax because sugar is another thing I despise with all my soul and love with all my heart. So thank you, America, for listening. And if you and your BFFs subscribe today, we'll be the smallest, fastest growing, moderate podcast. Moderate, are we? Didn't I say I hate that word, moderate? Can we go for something else, maybe centrist, not one-party voters? I kind of like the purple voter concept. Let's go with that. All right, so if you and your BFF subscribe today, we'll be the smallest, fastest growing purple voter podcast in the nation. Fake Ben, over and out.